Here are some stories I read from the No Sleep and Scary Stories forums on Reddit that I thought others may enjoy. Somebody has been leaving notes around my house. They're starting to freak me out. They started innocently enough. Don't forget your keys, read the first message. Scrawled on a sticky note in loopy letters. It had been left on my fridge door. It immediately grabbed my attention because at the time I lived alone. I had no memory of writing it, and the handwriting didn't match mine or anyone I knew. I was slightly perturbed, but wasn't sure how to react. In the end, I just tossed the note and went to work. The second note came a few days later, left on my kitchen counter. The sticky note was pink this time, but still had the same distinctive loopy handwriting. Make sure to pack a lunch today. Again, I was unsettled. Now, any normal person might have reported this to the police, but during that time, I was going through a major depressive spell. I had moved to a new city away from my friends and family and had started a new job that I quickly realized I hated and didn't nearly pay enough. Home was lonely and work was soul-crushing. I had trouble enough getting out of bed each morning, let alone filing a report that I'm sure the police would not take seriously. Even more stress, I crumpled up the note. However, I ended up packing a small lunch for myself. Usually I didn't bother to put in effort and just ate cafeteria food. But against my better judgment, I fulfilled the wishes of the note. That day, the cafeteria was closed. The main cafeteria fridge had broken overnight and many of the frozen lunches inside had gone bad. Management thought it would be better to shut it down for the day. A feeling of unease settled in my stomach after learning the news. It was as if the note had predicted it. The notes continued throughout the following weeks. They would typically show up on random days, no more than 3 notes to a day. They were all left in obvious places in my apartment, all on sticky notes and in that unfamiliar, loopy handwriting. They began to grow more prophetic. Take I-80 today. There will be a bad accident on your way home. Janet is going to offer you some cookies at the office. Politely decline. They will give you food poisoning. Maria has been on a diet. Compliment her on her weight loss. She'll end up thinking well of you. Of course, I tested the notes to see if they were accurate. Every time I ignored their advice, whatever it warned against came true. One day, a note said to pack an umbrella, and I purposely didn't. It was forecasted to be sunny that day, so any normal person wouldn't think to pack one, but sure enough, I got soaked that evening walking to my car. I was incredibly curious about the notes. There were so many questions I had about them, and those unanswered questions kept festering in my head. I tried writing notes back in return and leaving them out, but never got a response. I'd speak out loud and ask questions as if in case the note writer could somehow hear me. But this only made me feel foolish. I'd occasionally make a surprise visit home and at odd hours just to see if I could catch the note writer leaving their notes. Of course, I never caught them. I tried installing cameras in my apartment, even making sure all of the cameras were completely hidden. But the next day, I found every single one of the cameras inside completely torn out and placed on the kitchen table with a single note next to them reading, "Never do that again." The notes stopped coming after that, which made me deeply regretful. I had grown accustomed to the notes. I had begun to rely on them even. They had significantly improved my way of life over the last few months, both mentally, financially, and socially. I had actually started making friends at the office thanks to their advice, and for the first time in my life, I was even a bit popular. My managers, who before the notes didn't pay much interest in me, now valued my presence and would ask for my opinion on projects. It was no secret I was on my way to a promotion. Could I still do that without the notes? I also valued the notes as a friend, as weird as that sounds, or more like a guardian angel. Wherever they were always protecting me. Without them, the future was suddenly unknown, dangerous. Every time some mild annoyance popped up from that point, from bad traffic to stressful work situations, and even a minor paper cut, I thought about how this all probably could have been avoided if I still had the notes. The next week, a bright green sticky note appeared on my bathroom mirror. Don't forget to call Mom today. It is her birthday. I nearly cried. I decided to sack my investigation and just accept things as they were. Slowly, the fog of my depressive spell began to lift, and I could feel myself returning to how I used to be. My confidence rose, and for the first time in a while, I felt an equilibrium with my life. I went out, cracked jokes, and even managed to clean up my apartment. I also managed to get a girlfriend somehow. Her name was Amanda. I met her at a pub when I was out with my buddies. The best part of all this is that for some reason, she seemed to actually be into me. She was gorgeous, way out of my league, really, with long auburn hair that reached down to her back with soft brown eyes. Her laugh was lovely, and the lemon-scented perfume she liked to wear was intoxicating. She was the type of girl you could chat with for hours and never run out of things to talk about. The relationship was still new, so I was trying not to plan our whole future together in my head, but she was so lovable it was hard not to. At some point, I briefly thought about telling her about the notes. I've always wanted to tell someone about it, but never really had anyone to tell up until now. I decided not to, however, afraid she might think I was crazy. There was no point so early in the relationship making her think I was a loon. Plus, I was afraid the notes might stop again. If whoever was leaving them clearly didn't want me looking into them, how would they react if I shared what was happening with somebody? So at that point, I kept it to myself. Amanda had a hobby of cooking and had invited me to her house on Saturday for, in her own words, the best effing spaghetti you'll ever eat. I was pumped since this was the first time I would actually visit her house. I was in a good mood that evening as I was getting ready for the date. I hummed to myself happily, thinking about how lovely this was going to be, and went downstairs to grab my keys. On the kitchen counter was a new hot pink sticky note. I picked it up instinctively. Kill your girlfriend. My brain stopped for a moment. I read it once, twice, a third time, the words flashing in my brain but hitting an error every time. I set the note down and gulped. Feeling nauseous, anxiously I went to my car and started driving. I tried not to think about the note, but the words kept circling in my head. Kill your girlfriend. The notes have never failed me before, and they were always in my best interest as far as I knew, which was admittedly not much. Maybe they were wrong this time. Maybe it wasn't meant to be taken literally. Kill could be a synonym for breakup, right? My mind kept trying to make up poor excuses the whole way there. By the time I arrived, I was a sweaty mess and not a lick calmer. I pulled down my sun visor to check my face, and a bright green sticky note fluttered out. I went cold. The notes had never appeared outside my house before. Hand shaking, I picked up the note and read it. Jesus. Kill Amanda. Take the gun from your glove box and shoot her. I looked at my glove box wide-eyed. I did indeed keep a handgun in my glove box for safety purposes. I wanted to puke. To believe this wasn't happening. Again, I ignored the note and walked up to Amanda's house, trying to shake the message from my head. She answered the door almost immediately after I rang the doorbell. Hey, what's up? She said with a bright smile, but when she saw my face, the smile dropped. You okay, Gary? What's wrong? She said in concern. Nothing, I lied, trying to force a smile. Well, actually, I think I have a bit of a stomach ache. Come in, she said, ushering me in. The inside of her house was cute and homely, and she fretted over me worriedly as she led me over to her kitchen table. She then took my hand and rubbed it comfortingly. If you're not feeling up to spaghetti, we can always have it another time. Don't worry about it. Do you want any antacids or something? I smiled. The way she was so concerned for me over a simple stomach ache made me fall in love with her all over again. My heart panged with both love and guilt. The aroma of cooked spaghetti was also extremely strong, and even though she said it was fine, I knew it would probably be a bummer for her to pack away all that spaghetti after just making it. I'm fine, sweetie. I probably have a stomachache because I haven't eaten much today. I was looking forward so much for your spaghetti. Her smile returned again. I always loved how fast she smiled at things. Well then, Mr. Hungry, let me grab you a bowl. She left for the kitchen. I reclined back inside, sticking my hands in my pockets. I felt a crinkle of paper. Shit. I pulled the paper out of my right pocket. Take your chair and bash her head in. I had a hard time controlling my breathing as I stuffed the note back in my right pocket. I also felt paper in my left pocket, and against my mind screaming for me not to, I pulled it out, realizing it was actually 2 notes crinkled together. Shakily, I unwrinkled the first note. Do not eat the spaghetti. Drugged. What's that, Gary? Asked Amanda behind me. I nearly jumped out of my skin. I stuffed the notes back in my left pocket. I just some note from work I forgot was in my pocket is all, I said in a weird voice. She frowned. Looked like she wanted to say something, but then thought better of it. Here, babe, she said gently, handing me a bowl of spaghetti. It looked heavenly. I wanted to puke. She sat next to me with her own bowl. She rested her head in my hands and looked at me excitedly, expectantly. I stared at her blankly. Well, take a bite, silly, she said, gesturing towards my bowl. I'm so sorry. I really need to use your bathroom. I jumped up and started looking for her bathroom. She jumped up after me, looking confused. Gary, what's wrong? You've been acting weird. When I found the right door, I went in and locked the door behind me. She kept knocking and knocking. Gary, seriously, what's wrong with you? Is the stomach ache that bad? Talk to me, Gary, please. I backed up and against the bathroom wall, then sank down to the floor. I pulled out 2 notes from my left pocket again, this time reading the second note. My heart sank. She is not Amanda. They hide in the light. Oliver, can you please turn off the lights downstairs? I remember being a kid and hearing these words. I dreaded them. It was my job in the family to turn the lights off downstairs, to be the one that welcomes darkness into a familiar space. To have it chase me up the stairs. Darkness cannot chase, but that's what it felt like. I remember being relieved when I arrived at my room. I felt like I had won a race, one that you needed to win. I felt safe in my room, the constant reassurance of lights telling my eyes that there is no danger nearby, the lack of shadows to hide in, the doors and walls keeping me safe. But I really shouldn't have felt safe at all. You wonder why you only see these monsters in the dark, why you only become aware of them in the dark. I have learned that in the same way we hide in the shadows, the light is their shadows to hide in. To wait, and one day it stopped waiting. I grew up in a 2-story house with my sister and my parents, your typical American family home. There was nothing particularly special with the house or the area. We were a niche neighborhood, and we knew everyone in it. Everyone was so friendly, you felt safe enough to not lock your doors at night. Then things changed, subtly at first. In hindsight, these were warnings that I now try to tell you. It started with small noises, a constant scratching of my bedroom window. I had told myself was just a nearby tree, the continuous, almost rhythmic creaks of the attic floor above, a random rattle of the closet doors. These noises felt far away and never really interfered with normal life. It continued for about 3 months before it started to become more than just noise. First, leaky faucets. The house now had a permanent stench of offness. Then doors opening on their own, even locked ones. A blanket of sorrow seemed to engulf what once was my happy family, and for no apparent reason either. The sounds had also gotten closer. At this point, the creaks now originated from right beside my bed. The scratching on the window got louder, and one day I noticed visible scratch marks. They had come from the inside. My parents were not superstitious. They believed that everything had a logical and rational explanation. When I told them about all of this, they had disregarded it as my imagination. Oliver, can you please turn off the lights downstairs? This was the night that it stopped waiting, and I remember it vividly. That night, I headed towards the lights and braced myself to sprint before I flicked the switch. Ready, set, flick. I dashed up the stairs straight to my room with the familiar relieved feeling of having won the race again. I settled in to relax on my bed, to read a comic or two before falling asleep. Ollie, please, can you turn off the lights downstairs? You'll rack up a bill. Mom, I just turned them off. Sophie probably went downstairs or something. Ollie, Sophie's in our room. I know you're scared of the dark, but please don't lie to me. Now do your job, please. I reluctantly opened the door to my safe haven and headed toward the light switch downstairs again. I figured it was just an electricity issue. Ready, set, flick. I dashed up the stairs, but before I could close the door to my room, I heard a familiar click downstairs. The lights were on again, but so was the kitchen faucet. Dad, there's someone downstairs. I usually called for my dad whenever I was afraid. He always showed me that there was nothing to be afraid of. I remember him coming out of his room a bit annoyed as I had interrupted his work, but he put on a comfort face once he realized I was scared shitless. It's all right, Ollie. Look, no one's downstairs. I'll check it for you. I watched him go downstairs and out of sight as he went to investigate. I waited for what seemed like forever, just staring at the stairs, waiting for my dad to say that everything was all right. Then the faucet turned off and he had arrived at the light switch placed so conveniently near the base of the stairs. Nothing here, Ollie. Someone just forgot to turn off the kitchen tap. He turned off the lights and walked upstairs to comfort me. Relief was overwhelming. Click. The buzz of light seemed to have gotten louder, as if to mock how futile our attempts were at turning them off. Wait here, Ollie. I just need to check the electrical board. I watched my dad go down the steps again, each foot making that familiar thump on the stairs. Then my dad stopped midway. His head turned to look at me, and he was looking at me funny. I remember his face vividly. It was a mixture of shock and intense sorrow. His body was still facing the base of the stairs, his neck was facing the wrong way, and just like that, he was dead. The following thumps of his body falling are still etched into my mind. Ollie, is everything all right? My mother was once a bright and bubbly person. The moment she stepped out and saw my dad is when the light in her extinguished. Her screams were cut short by the lights downstairs. They had switched back off. This revealed the darkness that had done this to Dad. It was just vaguely humanoid, only a silhouette, and walking up the stairs. Their walk was almost in an awkward slow motion, as if it knew it'd get me eventually, and I somehow knew there was no escaping it. My mother had other plans. She snatched me into her room, hid Sophie and I in the bathtub, and called the police. My father's cause of death was officially labeled as a stairway accident. It was the most obvious answer after all. 12,000 people die of stairway accidents a year. This was all 31 years ago, and I am now 45. My mother, my sister, they were both killed in a similar fashion. My mother's was a bathtub slip. My sister's was a bed fall, but I knew better. I have survived this long because I have learnt that these creatures cannot hurt you in the dark. Similar to how you cannot see them in the light, they cannot see you in the dark, which is why I have lived the past 25 years in darkness, living with the sight of these creatures in exchange for their sight of me. As long as you are dead silent, you will live to see another day. I write this because I am tired of living in the dark. I write this to warn you of my story, to look out for the signs that you or your family have been marked, the signs that they have gotten tired of waiting. I will turn on my lights now. I woke up in a cam studio. I am not a cam girl. I know something is wrong before I open my eyes. The sheets are too soft, nothing like the cotton ones back in my own bed. These feel silky, expensive. I sit upright, struggling to keep my breathing steady as I survey my surroundings. I am in a small, windowless bedroom. A desk stands at the foot of the single bed. It's entirely plain apart from two wireless monitors positioned side by side. No visible system block, keyboard, or mouse. The right screen displays me moving around in real time, squinting as I try to make out the contents of the left screen. I shift down the bed until the chat room window comes into focus. Little Big 209. Hi, Brad. Joe Cocker Spaniel. Morning, Brad. Lovelace Cuck. Looking good, Brad. Pertix XX. Brad, hey. My pixelated reflection cringes. Whoever took me from my home has not bothered to change me into anything more presentable. I still have a food-stained t-shirt and boxers on. My chin is covered in peach fuzz, left over from a weekend of sitting around drinking and gaming. It's not a good look. I jump out of bed and walk over to the door. It's locked. There is an A4 sheet of paper taped to the oak panel at eye level. It's a printed list titled Tip Goals. Earn 5 tokens to turn off the alarm. Earn 10 tokens to get rid of the woman. A deafening noise blares through the room before I can get past the second bullet point. It's a shrill like a car alarm, but it comes from everywhere at once. It's a volume level that doesn't exist on any human device. I press my palms to my ears, sticking my fingers inside. My hearing starts deteriorating fast. I run back over to the screens. The chat room layout is similar to a campsite with a large thumbnail showing that I have earned 0 coins for my show. M unmatched, take off your shirt. Tasty testy, show us that dad bod. Magnet Freck, that tea needs a wash, you dirty boy. I pull off my shirt, flinching as my gut bounces down. The tips roll in. Lovelace Cuck tips 2 tokens. Me gives me 3. The alarm stops. My body relaxes and I sit back down on the bed, rubbing my temples. Everything is happening too fast. I need a second to arrange my thoughts. Study the room. My naked toes pinch the shag carpet beneath my feet. My eyes run over the whitewashed walls. There is no furniture apart from the bed and the desk. There are no wall sockets. The hell was that part about 10 tokens? The door swings open and a tall, thin woman enters the room. I am used to averting my gaze with women, especially attractive ones, so my eyes naturally dart away from her approaching frame. I am just in time to read the warning messages popping up in the chat. Dixie Untruth, you have to ignore her, Brad. Pinky Promise, be safe, Daddy-O. Little Big, don't look her in the eye. Kinky Slinky, don't listen. It's not what you think. Please help me, she whimpers. I need to get out of here. I just woke up in the room next door. There are people watching me. I remain seated on the bed, arms pulled tight around my gut. My eyes water as I stare at the white of the chat room screen, unblinking. The woman sits down beside me. Are you okay? Her voice is sympathetic, kind. Maybe we can help each other. The woman places a hand on my knee and starts to rub it. I see it from the corner of my eye. It is small, dainty. The fingers are long, manicured pink. Her touch is softer than the sheets, though her hand is cold. There is something familiar about this hand, the fingertips. The pink nails are shaped to look just like ballerina pumps, a shape I recognize but can't quite place. I don't look up. The chat room is blowing up with warnings. Why are you ignoring me? The voice changes, gets deeper. Look at me. Her palm clenches my leg, nails digging into my skin. She brings her face close to mine, the tip of her nose grazing my temple. My body breaks out in a cold sweat, like I'm dreaming, feverish. The woman opens her mouth. I think she will say something, but she doesn't. The mouth stretches, gapes, extending far beyond human possibility. I feel the breath from her cavernous mouth on my ear. I hear saliva dripping off the top layer of teeth. The woman snarls from the depths of her throat. Her nails break into the skin on my leg. I keep my eyes on the chat screen. T-Ball tips me 10 tokens, and the woman snaps her jaw shut with a toothy crunch. She stands up from my side and walks out of the room. A lock clicks. I rush over to the door. My life depends on reading the whole list. I don't know how I got here, but this is definitely some sick fuck's idea of a game. Only there are no checkpoints, no room for screwing up. I skim the rest of the tip goals list. The first 2 are done. Earn 5 tokens to turn off the alarm. Earn 10 tokens to get rid of the woman. Earn 25 tokens to save Hallie. Earn 50 tokens to turn on the oxygen pump. Earn 100 tokens to unlock the door. My stomach sinks when I read Hallie's name. She is my childhood best friend. We used to spend all our time together, but then I tried kissing her at a party and got mad when she rejected me. Things haven't been the same since. Hallie still calls and we engage in small talk, but that's about it. What does she have to do with all this? Meatballs 348. Why did you think she owed you more, Brad? Good for the body. Why was your pride more important than friendship? Inside you, 22. Now you're alone. It burns. And how is Hallie doing? There is a change on the second screen. My harrowed face is gone. It's replaced by video footage of a neat bedroom. The color theme is a green-blue floral. There are potted plants and paintings. Small throw pillows adorn the canopy bed. I'd recognize her eye for decorum. Anywhere. This must be Hallie's new place. I'd been meaning to stop by since she moved. How long ago was that? Exactly. A couple weeks? Months? A year? The colors of the room invert. It's nighttime. The camera feed is an infrared. The throw pillows have been moved to an armchair and there is a lump on the bed. Hallie sleeping? There are no speakers on the monitors, but I swear I can hear her bedroom door creak as it opens. A dark shape slithers inside. I struggle to define it. There are no distinct characteristics. It is dark and flat, wide like a pancake but jagged and rotating. It is just a weird dark spot, easily a lazy video edit, but it fills me with more dread than anything else that has happened in this room. Whatever the fuck that thing is, I don't want it anywhere near Hallie. It slithers to the edge of the bed, up the side of it, and under the covers. I punch the screen and cry out. My scream is emotional, raw, but ultimately pointless. Pixels dance on the feed, but the image holds steady enough for me to see the way the blanket moves on top of Hallie. I glance at the chat. Joe Cocker Spaniel, get under the covers. Waffly, lie under the blanket. M1 unmatched, get into bed and it will come to you instead. I turn away from the screens and crawl back into bed, pulling the covers over my head. My frantic breaths heat the air beneath the cover, forming a sauna of my exhaled carbon dioxide. Beads of sweat run down my face, neck. They pool beneath me, drenching the nice sheets. A wave of cool air hits me as something, lifts the blanket at the foot of the bed. A dark mass envelops my toes, slowly moving up my legs and stomach, stopping just short of my neck. It lies on top of me, heavy like a person, but devoid of any human warmth. Its cool skin feels alien, rubbery. My heartbeat is amplified, drumming against the smooth surface. My leg twitches, and the thing digs into the sides of my calf, pinning my leg down. So that's how this works. If I try to move, try to escape, it will hold me in place, constricting my movement until it squeezes the life out of me. I lie still and wait. I think back to the previous night, trying to figure out how I got here. I remember sleeping in because it's the weekend, drinking too much vodka, as always, playing some games. Nothing extraordinary, yet something tugs at the corners of my mind. There is something I'm missing, a fragment of memory, dancing just out of reach. What the hell happened last night? The longer we lie together, the darkness in me, the more singular we become. I think about the way it entered Haley's room, the way it climbed into her bed. Once I start picturing it, the entity moves, almost like it's responding to my thought patterns. It wraps itself around my body entirely, slipping its coolness between me and the sheets. It stretches to cover my head until I am cocooned inside. It feels good. There's that sense of familiarity again. That gnawing in my gut tells me this is what I truly want, deep down. My breathing is calmer than it has been all night. The darkness is still, peaceful. My thoughts grow vacant. I no longer need to know what happened last night. I don't care who the pink-nailed woman is. I'm sure my friend will be fine. What was her name again? Holly? As fluidly as it swaddled me, the darkness begins to sink. Its particles loosen, vibrate. They melt on my body, seep into my skin. I shiver. I sit up. I'm going to be sick. I start gagging, dry heaving into my lap. It's like my body wants to get rid of the foreign body, but doesn't know how. I throw my head back, gasping for breath, but there is no sustenance for my lungs. I throw off the blanket, gulping the air like a fish out of water. My rib cage spasms as I feel I'm choking on glass. How can something as natural as breathing hurt this much? Earn 50 tokens to turn on the oxygen pump. Back to the chat room. I have missed at least 100 messages, but I received some more tokens. I have 40 total now. I need 10 more to breathe. Missing Thursday. How does it feel, Brad? Inside you. You are so close now. Joe Cocker Spaniel. Isn't this what you wanted? The room spins as I fall from the bed to the floor. The cells in my brain writhe in pain, dying off one by one. Another 10 seconds and I will be a vegetable. 10 after that and I will die. No, I croak at the screen as my vision turns black. Help me. Just like that, I am able to breathe again. It's a hit like no other. My lungs reel in pain, but my brain explodes with the ecstasy of life. The door swings open and someone walks into the room. I watch their black dress shoes glide across the floor. I sit up and take in the person's appearance. I don't know what to make of it. They are neither tall, average, nor short. Every step they take shifts their proportions considerably. They are slender but muscular, effeminate in movement, but masculine in stance. They have long gray hair, but it lacks the volume and styling of a woman's cut. They wear a tailored black suit with a lace-trimmed blouse underneath. They are the personification of neutral. If beige were a person, they'd be it. They walk over to the screens and turn both of them off. They settle on the furthest side of the bed and cross their legs. We need to talk about your life, Brad. Their deep, authoritative voice fills the room. I've been watching you. We all have. What is this place? I choke out, my throat burning from my recent suffocation. A place where you can die. A place where I can kill you with just my fingertips. Is that what you want, Brad? No. Why not? The person smiles with their eyes. I thought they were hazel, but now I notice they are ruby red, otherworldly. It's just a matter of time anyway. You live alone. You never call or see anyone. The rats in the walls are likely to find you before any sort of help arrives. I open my mouth to say something, horror freezing me in place. I close my eyes, trying to suppress the tears. What is this person telling me? Have I died? Am I dying? I open my eyes. The person on the bed is gone. A gaping blackness remains in their place. It's like someone pinched a canvas, ripping a hole in the middle of a painting. The whole room caves in around the hole. It is magnetic, radiant. The power of nothing, of forgetting, of ceasing to exist. The void beckons me. I want to climb through. I want to feel nothing. Wait, that's not true. I want to feel something. The chat screen monitor lights up. Slidey fuck. Join us, Brad. Curly tits. We have a lot of fun. Inside you, we play many games. I walk up to the blackness, observe it. It grows, expands. If I don't make the choice myself, it will still happen. The void will fill the room and swallow me whole. It would be so easy to climb in the bed and fall through. I reach my left hand into the hole and a sharp pain pulses through my arm. I recoil, stumbling back. My hand is blistered, charred. The skin bubbles. The void grows faster now, sucking up the bed, inching toward the floor. No way am I subjecting the rest of my body to that black fire. I run to the door, the list still in place. Earn 100 tokens to unlock the door. I want to live, I scream in the shrinking room, fists banging on the door. Let me out! The lock clicks and I throw the door open. I stumble out into a blinding light. It is so bright, so vivid. There is no ground beneath my feet. I fall through the white. I cough myself awake. I'm lying on the floor of my rundown studio apartment. The wood panels are cold, sticky on my back. The ceiling fan multiplies as my eyes struggle to focus. I turn my head to see my desktop. I have 2 monitors. One shows a game lobby, the other a campsite. The girl on the stream brings a vibrating toy up to the camera lens. She grasps it in her dainty, manicured hand. Her long fingers slide over the lengths of it seductively. The nails are painted pink, shaped like ballerina shoes or coffins. 3 empty bottles of booze stand on the desk. The first one is my regular choice of vodka, but the other 2 are plastic, unlabeled. I recognize them as the moonshine my neighbor has been trying to sell me for weeks. I have politely declined his offers in the past, but maybe less. 3 empty bottles of booze stand on the desk. The first one is my regular choice of vodka, but the other 2 are plastic, unlabeled. I recognize them as the moonshine my neighbor has been trying to sell me for weeks. I have politely declined his offers in the past, but maybe last night was different? Did I really drink that shit? I try to sit up as a wave of nausea pins me back to the ground. I vomit inside my own mouth, twisting my neck to spit. My head spins, my body breaks out in convulsions. I can't move my left arm or leg. My spine feels like it's twisting around itself, my gut's turning. I use my right hand to fish out my phone and call emergency services. 911, what is your emergency? My tongue is rubber, but I managed the words. I am dying. Sir, where are you now? The operator's voice grows distant. Sir? More light as I come to. Fluorescent bulbs dance above my head, then stabilize. Machines beep and whir. I can move my arms and legs, but only a little because I am so weak. My left hand is covered in bandages. The door to my hospital room opens and a nurse walks inside. They are fully scrubbed in green, so I can't tell if they are a man or a woman. They come over to check my pulse, move my arms. I avoid looking at them. I am ashamed to be here. I have drunk myself sick many a night, but it has never resulted in a hospital visit. You sure did a number on your hand there, Brad, a familiar voice chides. The nurse lifts my left arm to examine the bandages on my hand. My stomach sinks and my heartbeat explodes in my chest. I look into the nurse's eyes, ruby red. What? I stammer. It was real? Your choice to stay alive? The person raises an eyebrow as they remove the bandage on my arm catheter. Yes, it was. The rules, I mumble, my insides turning. I thought it was a nightmare, a hallucinatory side effect of alcohol poisoning. I want to close my eyes to blink this person out of existence. Ah, yes, the person nods. Pre-purgatory has gotten a little predictable over the past few centuries. Some folks are trying to spruce it up a bit. Rules are all the rage right now with those demons. You know how it is. Now, away with such thoughts, they say, replacing the drip and rebandaging my catheter. I am not going to pretend that things will magically improve. Your life is not much better than the first few circles right now. But it can be. You have quick reflexes, a keen mind. Just take it one day at a time. I didn't try to kill myself. I raised my voice, my undamaged hand curling in a fist. There are other ways to invite death into your life, Brad. The person starts removing the bandages from my hand. I stare in disbelief as patches of black become visible. My hand looks like it suffered severe frostbite. I can't move any of my fingers. It will heal, the person says simply. Not quickly, mind you, but it will. I want to say something else, to ask more questions, but a sudden fear grips my chest. I think of the room, the rules, the chat screen. I remember my time there with unnatural clarity. I can zone in on every minute detail. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to wind up back in that place. The person finishes rebandaging my hand. They lay my arm down at my side, pick up a clipboard, write something down, and walk out of my hospital room without another word. The rest of the day passes in a blur. A doctor comes and goes, more nurses, all normal. They ask if there's anyone they can call, but I say no. In the evening, when I'm left alone, I take my phone from the nightstand and dial Hallie's number. Brad, she practically squeals in my ear. I'm so glad you called. I haven't heard from you in ages. How are you? My heart freezes in my chest as I consider lying. All the terrors experienced in that room pale in comparison to admitting my failures, to letting someone in, to admitting the truth. Brad? I breathe heavy, my good hand trembles. I'm on the verge of hanging up when I remember the darkness, the void, how close I came to it. My mouth goes dry. I'm not doing so great, Hal, I say, my voice choked with emotion. I think I need your help. So I've never done these stories before, but I always watch videos of people sharing like good Reddit stories, so I figured I'd make one, and with it being Halloween soon, I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it this far, go ahead and comment blue smoke in the chat. If it was stupid, you can comment that too. But regardless, I hope everyone has a great day, afternoon, or evening. Talk to you soon.